Hey traders, Raghee here, and in this video we're going to actually take a peek at the current issue, or at least the topic of the current issue of the Countdown Trader. If you haven't checked it out, it's countdowntrader.com, and the topic is where we're not looking. All right, so let's take this idea of a watch list and a do not watch list. Now, for some time, the NASDAQ, the NQ, including the QQQ, has been on that do not watch list. And I think it's really important to have certain sectors and certain stocks and certain indices that we're simply not going to trade until they show us signs of, well, a reason to trade, a setup. Now, a lot of folks are talking about whether or not this move in the NAS higher today merits a breakout, merits now the NAS having reached thresholds where it can continue higher. I don't believe that to be the case yet. The NAS is going to have to prove to me that these swing highs in here and in here can be broken. And while I would not call this a classic ABC or 1, 2, 3, and you can call it peanut butter and jelly, it doesn't matter, but I don't think this is a classic pattern because I would want this to be either a more significant lower low or swing low. But nonetheless, the pattern is there, and the breakout would be through this 324 area. And it's interesting because the volume sort of falls off a cliff. In other words, we enter, I think, pretty easily what could be a vacuum in this area that would close the gap right in here. So I don't think that gap close is out of the question, but we've got to take these swing highs out first. And I don't think I'm there yet. In fact, we still need to take out, I would say, near term, the 324.20 area. So I'm not excited about the NAS. I'm not excited about the QQQ. So where do we look in tech? Well, for a while, it was semiconductors. Semiconductors is actually forming a very similar pattern to the NAS. That I call it a lightning bolt sometimes when I'm talking about this in sector secrets, and we're talking about lows being formed, or even as reversals if we're in the futures room. And it kind of looks like a lightning bolt, but that would have to be taken out right there. What about CLOU? Nope. In fact, this is nearly turning into a double red, so let's steer clear of this. What about SKYY? A little bit better than CLOU, but probably not something we want to watch. So let's crack open the NAS in terms of the heavily weighted sectors. XLK, which is truly a conversation about Microsoft, and Apple, right? Neither of which look, maybe Microsoft, but none of which look super tempting. What about the XLY? This is just a lot, maybe too much. Amazon and Tesla, but further down the watch list, one of the things that we've done in Sector Secrets is we got long Ford and we got long GM. I like the consumer discretionary. We know money is going into the hands of the consumer. Retail sales have not been abysmal. How come XLY isn't doing any better? Well, we know XRT has been doing pretty well, but we're sticking with the QQQ, and XLY is a heavily weighted sector. All right, well, that doesn't look great, but I can play individual stocks. Where do we want to focus on the NAS? This is it, the XLC, the communications sector. Now, this is not difficult to see in terms of the double green, and it's not difficult to trade in terms of not only buying pullbacks in the underlying XLC if you want to own the ETF. However, you'll notice the option chain is very illiquid. You'll notice that Google, Goog, they're all holding their own as compared to their cousins in the XLK and the XLY. Amazon, Tesla, Apple, Microsoft. Google, by comparison, looks like a superstar. However, there are other names that look far better. You just have to look a little further down the list in the XLC, and that brings you to names like Viacom. That brings you to names like Disney. I get a lot of questions about Twitter. Now, you might ask, Rog, what does this have to do with the way in which I want to trade the NASDAQ? Well, the punchline is I really don't want to yet. Where do we want to pay attention? The same couple places we have been for a while. The Dow, the IYT, the XLI. We can take a look also at the XLF and the XLE. Now, when the indices get choppy, gang, you want to day trade them. Tomorrow morning, in the futures room between 9:20 and 11:30. I'll be day trading the market like I like to do the first 2 hours of the day and only the first 2 hours of the day, almost every day. But the rest of the day, I'm going to take a little deeper look into these futures indices and ask myself, do I really want to be placing big bets in the S&P, or are there better parts of these indices, relative outperformance? You've seen the way I took the NASDAQ apart. Are there better places that we can get to work? Day trading wise, we'll dive into the day trades in the premium video, but keep an eye on the individual sectors and the individual stocks right now in the market. In CHOP, we need to be stock pickers. And the indices right now are communicating that really clearly. So I'll see you in the next update.
Without simpler trading, I could not have financial independence.
This is one of the best investments I ever made in my life.
It's helping me find consistency.
It's one of the things that won me